Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how to perform the entire CRUD operations with MongoDB database by using Spring Boot and Postman. So I'll be showing you post operation, fetch by using ID, fetch whole data, update and delete. So let's get started. So first thing, just go to your browser and search for Spring Initializer. You'll be getting the first link start.spring.io. Just select that. And this is going to contain our entire Spring Boot project, and we are going to configure the necessary dependencies and as well the Java version over here. So first thing, project is going to be Gradle and Groovy. If you want Maven, you can choose that, but I am comfortable with Gradle. And next one is going to be language. I will choose Java and I will leave it with a default Spring Boot version. And here we need to change the name of our project. Okay, we will be having this project metadata. So I'll just change the name as Mongo Spring, and you can change the name whatever you want. So I'll just copy this and I'll just change the group name, also the artifact name. So now we are done, and next is going to be the packaging. jar is fine for me, and the Java version is going to be 17. So just leave it the default. Well, the only thing that we changed over here is the name. That's it, we didn't touch anything other than that. And next is going to be the dependencies. So for this we will be using the Spring Web dependency, okay, because we are going to have some API calls, okay. So for that we will be using Spring Web, this one. And for connecting with MongoDB database, we need to use the MongoDB driver. So that's the dependency name. So just search for Mongo. You'll be having this Spring Data MongoDB, not the reactive one. Just go with Spring Data MongoDB. And finally, I would also like you to add Lombok. So in case if you are having a class, we will be having a getter, setter, and we need to initialize with constructors. We can just avoid everything. So as it says, Java annotation library, which helps to reduce boilerplate code. So if you just use Lombok, it saves us a lot of time in reducing our boilerplate getter, setters and code. Just add this also. So these are the three dependencies, and these are the settings that I have had for my Spring Boot project. So once you're done good with this, you need to just click on generate, and it will get downloaded as a zip file. Alright, so just go to your downloads folder. You'll be having the zip file of our entire Spring Boot project downloaded. Just right click and just extract files. Okay, so I'm just extracting in my downloads folder itself. In case if you want to be in a better location, you can just cut this and paste it in any other folder that you want. That's totally up to you. So if I go inside this folder, we will be having our source and our Java files over here. So the prerequisites for running this project is going to be, you must have MongoDB Compass installed, and also you must have both Java and IntelliJ installed on your system. And in case if you don't have Java and IntelliJ installed, you can just click on the card that is appearing on top. I have done an entire tutorial on that. So now we are good to go. Just open IntelliJ IDEA. I hope you have this editor. So once you're done opening, you need to just click on the top. You need to go to open, and you need to go to the location where you have your extracted file, basically this project. Okay, you need to go to the location where you have this thing. Here it is. And another important thing, you'll be having this Mongo Spring, alright, and inside that you'll be having another folder named as Mongo Spring. So I would recommend you to open the inner Mongo Spring folder, okay, not the parent one. You'll be having the subfolder. So just select the subfolder and click on OK. Trust project, this window. Yeah, so basically here you can see, right, this is the main parent folder. I'm not having any other Mongo Spring or subfolder, but here in this case, here you can see, right, we had a subfolder over here. So we have like two Mongo Spring over here, but just open the inner folder in your IntelliJ IDEA. I hope that made sense. So now we are inside our project, and this is the folder structure. If I go inside source, main, Java, and this is our main Spring Boot application. And initially it will take some time for the Gradle to build and your project to load. So just be patient till then. And you need to also configure your Java. It will automatically ask you set up SDK over here. You need to just select that, and you need to just select your Java JDK. It will automatically get configured over there in case if you are opening for the first time. So after this, you need to just go to this path, source main Java, and you need to go to Mongo Spring application. This is the starting point of your Spring Boot application. So now we are good. We have successfully set up our Spring Boot application. Next thing is we need to begin coding. So the first file that we are going to create is the model. So whatever may be the Spring Boot application or project, we will be requiring some files. So one is going to be the model, next one is going to be the repository, next one is going to be the controller, and the final one is going to be service. So let me just create the folders at first so that it makes our code look clean. So just go to this particular folder, okay, com dot your project name, and you need to right click this, you need to select new, and you need to select package. So here I'm going to type model at first. Alright, just don't mess around with the existing text, just type your model, that's it, and we'll be getting the model folder over here. So first thing, let me explain what is a model. So in our MongoDB compass, data will be stored as key and value pairs. So this is an example how our data will be stored inside our MongoDB table. So our model will basically have the key name, that's it. So in case if you are creating a model which is going to be just a Java class, it will have name, mark, and age as the data members or variables inside that. So I hope this made sense. Let me just now create you a model. So after this, just right click this model, just click on new, we need to select Java class, and the name that we are going to give here is going to be the collection or table name inside our MongoDB compass. So I will just give the name here as student, okay, that's it, and I'll just click on class, just hit enter. That's it, we will be getting the student class, and as I told you, we will be having the key names as variables or data members for this particular student class. So it's going to be private, and the data type of roll number is going to be integer, it's going to be roll number, and next one is going to be name. You can choose whatever you want. I will just go with name is going to be of type string, and next is going to be private string address, something like this. You can have these things. Next is we will be annotating this particular class. So the first annotation that we are going to add is document, and don't worry about this no usages thing. This is just an indication where we are using our class. So I thought this was the text at first, so you can't remove this. So first annotation is going to be document. So just go to the above line where you have your class. So it's going to be at, just type D, you will be getting document. Hit enter, it will automatically come here above your class name. So this is the indication that we give to Spring Boot that this is going to be our document or table name in our MongoDB compass. And as I told you, next annotation is going to be data, and this is from Lombok, and this reduces the use of having those getters, setters, constructors, initializing the value, all those things, okay. And along with that, we will be having this no args constructor and all args constructor. This is basically for initializing this value. So this is it, and the final annotation is going to be for our integer roll number. So I'll just go here like to the top, and it's going to be at capital ID. Alright, this proves that our integer roll number is a primary key, like this is going to be unique. So that's it. Now we are good with the class, and next is going to be the repository file. So this repository file basically links our student class with our MongoDB compass. So only with the help of the object of the repository we will be able to insert or fetch values from our MongoDB compass. So I'll just explain you in a minute what is a repository. So for that, first create a new file. So same thing, just click on your project name and go to new package, just have it as repository. Alright, and this repository is going to be an interface and not a class. So right click repository, new Java class, and this is going to be of the name student repo. You can name whatever you want, and this is going to be an interface. So here you can see we are having interface student repo, and we will be extending the Mongo repository, which is a keyword indicating that this is a repository. So it's going to be extends we'll be having this Mongo repository, and this Mongo repository takes two parameters. Alright, because we have just created a repository over here, we haven't linked it with the class name. So we're having this class. How will this repository know that this repository corresponds to this class? So we need to name this student over here, right? We need to pass it as an argument for this. So it's going to be the first parameter over here is going to be the class name, is going to be student, basically the class name that we have created over here. And the next parameter is going to be the data type of our primary key in this class. So our primary key over here is integer, so we need to have here integer. So if your primary key, let's suppose for example I'm having name as a primary key, which no one does, you need to have the value as string, because name is having of type string. If this is a primary key, you need to have here string. I'm having here integer because my primary key over here is integer denoted by this annotation id. So now we are good, we are done with our repository. Final thing is our controller, and this is a place where we specify our URI. So basically this path, if you know, like if you are using this Postman and stuff, we will be having this path localhost and slash. We will be having our custom paths for so many operations like this, and controller is the place where we will be creating and adding the functionality to these paths. You can also do that with a service, but in this video, since I'm going to show a minimal demo, I'll be just writing the entire logic within the controller folder itself. So same thing, just go to your project, new, it's going to be package, I will name it as controller, and inside the controller folder, new Java class, it's going to be main controller. That's it. Now we are done creating our controller class, and this will also have an annotation denoting that this is a place where we'll be defining our URI and path. So for that we need to have the REST controller annotation. This is where we will be defining our API paths. So first thing, let me just show you a simple function that helps us to post data inside our MongoDB compass. Okay, simple one. This is going to be a function, all right. So it's going to be public void. I'm not going to return anything from this function. It's going to be add student, and I'll just open the curly bracket. So first annotation that we are going to use here is the post mapping. All right, post mapping. So this basically means that we are posting data or inserting data in our MongoDB compass. So if I send some data from Postman, that will be received by this post mapping function, and it will insert inside our MongoDB compass. So let me define the path. So just open circular bracket slash add student. So if I hit this path, if I go to my Postman and have here add student and hit this, basically this path will be triggered, and this function and the code inside this will be getting executed. I hope that made sense. And now we need to find a way how we can send the data from Postman, and we need to cache the data and save it in our MongoDB. So for example, just imagine this is my data, alright. So I'll just go to my Postman, and this is going to be my path. This is going to be of type post, and it's going to be body, and it's going to be of type JSON. I'm having this. Okay, I will explain this clearly later. Okay, I'm just doing this as a demo purpose. So imagine I'm having this data at the moment, and I'm just clicking on send. So this is going to be add student. Okay, so just imagine this, I'm clicking on send. So this data needs to get stored in our MongoDB compass. So we need to have a way so that we can cache this data. So imagine this data will be similar to this one, okay, student thing. So we'll be having here name, roll number, and address. So just have this as, copy this, and this is going to be like address, and this is going to be roll number. Alright, so just imagine this way, we will be having the exact same parameters that we are sending over here, and that will match with our class. So we need to find a way how we can catch this data, okay, these data by this function. Alright, so for that we will be using the request body annotation. So it's going to be at request body, and we need to specify the model name. So this is where the model name comes in handy. We will be having the student, right? So it's going to be of type student, and we need to create a variable of that class student. So the reason why we are using here student is because the student has 3 variables and the data that we are sending also has 3 JSON. So that's why we are basically mapping this JSON to this particular class student, and we are doing that with the help of this request body annotation. So this student variable or object will have this data if we hit on send now, if you are hitting this particular path. Alright, so now we have got the data. The final thing that we need to do is we need to save this particular data. So for that we will be using the repository. So remember what I told you about repository. Repository is used to store or insert or fetch data from our MongoDB compass. So we will be using this particular variable present inside repository. So it's going to be student repo. We'll be creating an object of that. It's going to be student repo, and we need to also add the auto wired annotation for this, because like we are using this student repo class and we're creating an object in some other file. So for that we need to have this auto wired, so that it acts as a dependency injection. So I'll just have this auto wired thing. So this is fine now, and final thing, we'll be using that student repo variable inside our function. So it's going to be something like the student repo dot, we will be having the save thing, and inside this save we will be passing our variable name student. So I'll just put student over here. So this is now fine, and final thing, the most important thing is we didn't add any configuration. Alright, so we need to like link our project with our database. So for that, first go to your MongoDB compass, okay, and don't make any changes in your connection. Just have it like this, because if you make any other changes over here, you need to also replicate those changes in our Spring Boot also. Just have this the same way, don't touch here. In case if you are like working in a production code, maybe you can just change this everything, but we are just doing it locally. So just have this, don't change this URI or something. Just copy this and have it in your notepad. We may use this later, and just click on connect. Yeah, so now I'm connected with my MongoDB compass locally. So after this, you need to just go to the folder called resources. We'll be having main. Under that we'll be having another folder called as resources. Just click that, and we'll be having this application.properties file. Just select that. So this will be empty at first, and here we will be specifying the port number and the path of our MongoDB compass. So it's going to be server dot port. Let me give it as 8081, and next one is going to be spring dot data dot mongodb dot URI equal to, and here we need to specify the path that we copied. We need to just copy this, and be careful with the spelling, okay? You need to be super careful there. You need to just place this, and here you need to specify the database name. So you can specify existing database name, or if you just give here a new database name, it will get automatically added over here. So for example, let me go with Mongo Spring like this. So this database is not currently available in my compass, so it will get automatically created as I run the program. So I think we are good now. We are done with most of the part. Yeah, this is fine, everything is fine. So for running this, what you need to do is you need to go to Java, same your Mongo Spring application, that is the main application file, and you'll be having this run icon automatically. So you need to just click on this run, and you need to just click run application main, and we'll be having this application. And if you want to edit the configuration, you can do some changes over here. This is totally up to you. By default, it will get automatically filled up once you configure your Java. Alright, so you don't need to like worry about these things, it will automatically run. So if I just now scroll, so here you can see Tomcat started on port 8081. The reason why it is starting on 8081 is because here we have specified in our application.properties as 8081. So let me just now clear this. So now we are good. We didn't just now insert some data. So let's see how we can do that. I will just go to my main controller. Alright, so this is our path, and if we hit this path and send the student data, it will get automatically saved for us, and the data will be coming in our MongoDB database. So for this, let me go to Postman and just click on plus. I'll be getting the new workspace, and the operation that we are going to perform is post mapping. Okay, so you need to change the operation here to post, and you need to have this path. All right, http colon double slash localhost colon your port number that you have specified in application.properties. So I'm having here perfectly as 8081. This is good. Till this, it's fine. It's not HTTPS, and this port number is going to be this port number that you have specified over here. And after this, you need to make sure that you're changing the operation, because here we are performing post, and you need to copy the path and you need to just paste it after this slash. All right, and the next important thing is we need to send some data. So we are actually getting a model student, and this model student contains roll number, name, and address. So we need to send a JSON with these three keys. And for that, let me go to body, and inside body we'll be having none. Select raw and change the text to JSON. So you need to be super careful. Even if you mess around with any one of these, even if you have this as text or JavaScript, you won't be getting the output. Make sure that you change that to JSON, and open curly bracket, and you need to specify the key name. So let me just copy this. Basically, I'll just copy this and paste it, and I'll just remove this private integer thing. Yeah, I'll just remove these things. So this is how it should look. You need to have your key names inside double quotes, and you need to also have the value inside double quotes if it is of type string. So in our case, roll number, we give the roll number type as integer. So since it is of type integer, I'm not giving any double quotes for roll number, but name and address is of type string, so I'm specifying that within double quotes. And that's it. Now we are good. And just look at the database names. We are not having our Mongo Spring database. All right, so once I hit this send, we will be having our Mongo Spring database, and inside that we'll be having a table or collection name student. Okay, we will be having those things. So I'll just click on send. All right, so this is done. We are getting 200. Okay, and we are also getting some logs completed. We are not having any errors. And if I go to my compass, and if I just now refresh, here you can see I'm having Mongo Spring, and if I open this, I'm having a collection named student. So as I clearly told you, this class name is going to be your collection name. And if I just go inside this, here you can see I'm having the ID, name, and address that we sent over here. And this is like auto generated value. You don't need to worry about this. And the final thing that I want to show you is, in case if you want to connect to an existing database, so what if I want my student collection to be created inside this new DB, which is an existing database? So in that case, you can just go to your application.properties and remove this Mongo Spring, and you need to just give here new DB, which is my existing database, and you need to just rerun it. Okay, and that's a super important thing. If you are going to do any changes, you need to click on this stop and rerun. Okay, so that the application get restarted and your changes are also getting affected. So this is good. Yeah, application restarted. So I'll just clear all. I'll go to this, and I'll just change the number to something like this, and yeah, let this be fine. I'll just click on send 200, and this time if I refresh this, here you can see I'm having student inside my new DB, and here you can see I'm also having the latest data that I sent 12545, the same ID. Let's just go to the main controller, and let me just copy the post function, and we'll just go here and paste it. And this time it's not going to be a post mapping, because we are going to fetch the entire data. So it's going to be a get mapping, and we are going to fetch students, fetch the entire students. And let's also change the function name, which is going to be fetch students. And we are not going to pass any request body. We are not going to have any body over there. We're just going to have a URL. That's it. So let me just now remove this thing. And finally, we will be returning the entire data. All right, we'll be returning this object, this object, this object. So this object is going to be of type student. This is also going to be of type student. This is also of the type student, because these are going to be objects at the end. So the return type is going to be not void, but list of student. Okay, because each of them or individual objects, and at the end we'll be getting a list. So it's going to be a list of objects of type student class. So that's the reason why we'll be having here list of student. And let me just remove this. It's going to be return, and here we will be using our repository object. So if you just go here, repository is there, and only with the help of a repository variable we will be able to, like, fetch or delete or update anything. So you need to have that over here. So it's going to be return student repo dot, we will be having find all. So this will fetch the entire data, and as you saw here, if I go and click find all, here it says it returns list of student. Okay, so this is now fine, and let me just rerun my application. So my application is currently running on port 8081. I have specified it over here. So application has started. Let me clear it, and now let's just go to Postman, and let me just copy this path, click on new. So it's going to be HTTP, not HTTPS :localhost, the port number that you have specified over here, and the path is going to be fetch students. So just copy this and paste it over here, and the body is going to be nothing, and the operation is get over here. So if I just now send this, here you can see I'm getting 3 objects, and these are the data that is present in my MongoDB collection. We just need to go to our main controller, and we need to create a get path, and I'll just copy this, paste it. So it's not going to be post mapping now, it is going to be at get mapping, because we are fetching data. Next is going to be the path, so I will just have it as get with a slash over here, get student, and we are going to pass the ID as a parameter. So it's going to be ID. So you need to have this particular variable within curly bracket, and let's just change the name. It's going to be get student, and we are not going to return void, we are going to return this data. Okay, for example, if I get with the help of ID, I am sending 101, we need to get the entire data. All right, so at that time we won't be returning a void thing. So basically we will be returning this entire object, and this object is of class student. So the return type is not going to be void, it's going to be the class which is going to be of type student. This is the class. Okay, the class that I've created for this. This is fine. And next is the request body. The request body is not going to be student, it's just going to be this ID which is in the path. So for that we will be using the path variable annotation. Just put at, it's going to be path variable space the data type of this particular ID that we are sending. So the data type in my case is going to be integer, and just the name, the exact same name should be used over here. And next thing is, inside that particular function we need to make use of the student repo. We need to create an object of student repo. Alright, so this repository basically corresponds to this particular student class. In Spring Boot we will be only able to access a particular data from the database only with the help of repository. So it helps us to save data, delete data, fetch data, everything. We can't directly access it. Only through the repository object we can do that. So I've just created my repository object over here, and inside this it's going to be student repo dot, we'll be using the find by ID, and here we will be passing the ID, and we also will be having a else condition or else null. So why should we add this else condition is because what if we pass any ID that isn't present in my database. So let's suppose say I'm passing here 1 is not at all there in the ID. So at that case we need to also have a else condition that will basically return null, and it shows us an error because we haven't returned anything. We are returning student, but we haven't used the return statement over here. So just add a return keyword, that's it. So now we are good. And in case if you want to have a service, you can just have this inside a service, and you need to just call that service from here. So that's totally up to you. Since it is just a minimalistic function, just a single line, I'm just directly hard coding it inside the path function itself, inside the controller. So you can just have a service in case if you want to, but this is fine. So once you're done with this, you can just restart your application. Yeah, the application has restarted. So now what we are doing is just copy this path, or else let's copy it later. Just go to Postman, create a new instance, and the operation is going to be get. Just copy the path, paste it. So it's going to be HTTP localhost, and I'm running it on 8081. So if you don't know the port, you can just specify the port in application.properties server.port. You can just specify any port that you want. Just clear this, and now let's go to our controller. Here we need to just copy this path, and I will go here. I will just paste this path, and in the place of ID we need to give our ID. I will go with 102 or 103 because 102 is not there. I will go with 103, and we don't need any data. We don't need any body data or something, just none, and that's it. So now if we send this, here you can see I'm getting 103 student Tom, and if I go to here 103 student Tom, same thing. And if I just send 10 is not in our database itself. So if I just send that, we will be getting nothing. Basically null has returned, but the status is 200 okay, which means that it doesn't throw any errors. So this update operation is going to be exactly similar to the post operation. We'll be sending the name, roll number and address from our postman as a body. So we will be using the request body annotation similar to post. So let me just copy the post function and paste it over here. So first thing, this is not going to be post mapping. The annotation is going to be put mapping, which is going to be update. So I need to have here put mapping, and next just change the path to update student. Also copy this and change the function to update student also, and this is going to be fine. Request body is going to be student, and this is also going to be of type student because we are going to send name, roll number and address. So we have all the three data members of object, so this is fine. So in this we will be performing three simple operations. The first one is fetch the object using ID. So by ID I meant the roll number over here. And another important thing is that if I go to my class, here I will be having the ID annotation. It is really important to have this ID annotation because I will be using find by ID. So that function works only if you have this ID annotation to your primary key or the primary data member. So roll number is a primary key. It's going to be unique for all the students. So you need to have the ID annotation over there. That's the first thing. So now let's just go and code the first step. Okay. So for this, we will be returning the object. So for example, imagine I'm sending here 5. Okay. So we will be getting this object, this entire object as a value stored in a variable. So we will be getting this entire object if I pass 5 from postman. So it's going to be of type student, okay, because the object is going to be of class student. So it's going to be student data, anything. You can just literally name anything. I will just go with this equal to. So we will be making use of the student repo, which is the repository object. So in Spring Boot we can access data from a table with the help of a repository object. So this is my repository and this is my repository object. You need to have it auto-wired. So it's going to be student repo dot find by ID. So as I told you, find by ID. So for this we need to have the annotation ID over here, and inside this we need to pass this roll number. Okay, so this roll number will be stored in this object. So it's going to be student dot get roll number. All right, and another thing is that we need to have dot or else null. Okay, so the reason why we are having this or else condition is that here we are sending 5, okay, and 5 is present in our database. There is ID named 5. So what if I send some random number 100 or 1000? That won't be present in our table, right? So in that case, our data value will be assigned with null. That's the reason why we are having this condition over here. And in case the roll number is present in our table, this object, this ID, name and address will be getting stored in this data. So if you want, I can just print this and show you system.out print, just go with data. Let me just run this, and in that time we can just set our path. So it's going to be put or update. Let me just copy this path, paste it. It's going to be update student, and next we need to go to body. We need to change this to raw. Make sure that you're changing this to JSON, and just copy this path and paste it over here. And the reason why I am not putting roll number within double quotes is because I have given the roll number as a integer. So in case if you have a string, you can just place it as string. So now this is the code. We will be just printing this object, so we will be getting this data. So if I just go to Postman, if I send it, I'm getting 200. And if I go to my console, here you can see roll number 5, the name and address. This corresponds to this one, this entire object. If I pass the roll number as 3, I'll be getting this entire object in the console. So this is basically the thing over there. So now we are good. Next is we need to check if it is null. So for that we'll be just having a if condition. If data not equal to null, only if this data is not equal to null, we will be performing the update operation. Okay, because else there is no point in performing update, right? If the data is not all here, why should we perform the update operation? And inside this, we need to update with requested data. So it's going to be something like this: data, this object, this temporary object that we are having, dot set name, and we are passing the name from Postman, right? So that's going to be stored in this object, the student. It's going to be student dot get name. So we are getting the name over here and setting to this data. So this data that we set over here will be getting stored in our collection. So that's the thing. We are fetching data from the student. This get name thing is going to be this name. All right. So that's the fact there. And same thing applies for address also. Data dot set address student dot get address. So exactly same thing. We are getting this address from this variable student, and we are just storing it inside data. And final thing is we need to save this. Okay, we are just updating now. We need to save it. So it's going to be same thing. Our repository object dot save. It's going to be data. That's it. So let me just now rerun this, and let me just have 5, or let me go with 1 maybe. I'll go with 1, and I will just have some random alphabet like this. Yeah, W, and clear this, and I'll just send it. Yeah, I'm getting status as 200 because this is void. We are not sending anything. It's just going to be a void over here. This is the console. This is the old data. Okay, this is the old data. So if I just now go to my compass, and if I just refresh this, we are passed the roll number as 1. So this thing needs to be changed to W. Basically we need to have W there. Refresh it. Here you can see I'm having W. So this 2 keys have been updated. So now let's begin with the delete function. Okay, so first thing, let me just copy the post, or else you can just type it from start. It's not a big deal at all. Just paste it. So the first important thing is it's not going to be a post mapping. It's going to be delete mapping, and just have a custom path. So I will just go with as delete student, and also I will just change the function name of my delete controller, and this is going to be of type void, because I'm not going to return anything. We are not going to return anything as a response. We're just going to delete it. That's it. In case if you want to return something, you can do it. That's totally up to you. And we are going to delete with the help of ID, and for that we will be passing ID from our URL itself. So for example, it's going to be something like this. For example, we will be having the delete student over here. After that we will put a slash, and we will pass the number or ID to be deleted. So basically we will be having ID over here. So if I pass 1, this entire object will be getting deleted from my database. So for passing it, we will be having here a slash, curly bracket. Within that we need to put ID, and we will be accessing this ID with the help of path variable annotation. So it's going to be at path variable space the data type of this ID. So in my case, I'm having the student, the data type is integer. So put integer, and this name, this variable name that we have used over here, that should come over here. And next thing is we need to use this student repo, which is the object that we have created with our student repo interface name. Okay, so we need to have that. Also you need to use this way. You need to have the auto void annotation. So it's going to be that object dot, we will be having delete by ID, and inside this ID we will be passing the ID that we are passing from our Postman in the URL. And now is the most important thing. Okay, you need to go to your class, and in the class you need to have this ID annotation. So this is super important. This ID annotation basically makes or denotes Spring Boot that this roll number is a primary key. So for example, I'm just going to my postman and I'm sending some data. I'll just go with 5 and I'm just sending 5 over here. Roll number is 5. So if I just send it, yeah, 200, and if I go to my MongoDB compass and if I refresh it, here you can see I'm getting this as ID, but I'm sending it as roll number. So this is the reason why you need to have this ID annotation over here. And because in main controller we are using delete by ID. So in case if you just pass roll number over here, you will be having the roll number key over here and ID key won't be there. So this function won't be working. So basically you need to have this ID annotation. It's super important. So now we are good. This is basically the delete function. So let me just now rerun my Spring Boot application. I will just copy this path. I think the path is already copied. My Spring Boot application is running on 8081 and I have configured over here. Under resources we will be having the application.properties. This is my configuration. I'm having the port number and this is my database name, NewDB. So here I'm having my database name and the class name is going to be the default collection name, student. So here I am. Now let me go to postman. First thing is you need to change the operation to delete. By default it will be in get, change it to delete, and it's going to be HTTP, not HTTPS, ://localhost and your port number. Since I am using 8081 in my Spring Boot application, I am using this. You need to use your own port number, and after that this delete student path which we have specified over here. Exactly the same thing. Be careful with the alphabet cases. Next is going to be slash, and here we need to pass the ID, and I'm passing the ID over here as 4. So this is basically the setup, and body we are not going to pass any request body or data, something like that. So let me just clear this and go to compass. If I refresh this, I'm not having 4, so I'll just go with 2 basically. So I'll just go here, I'll put 2, and if I send it, yeah, I'm getting status 200, which means that I'm not facing any errors. So if I go here, yeah, no errors here also. And if I go to my compass and if I refresh it now, this particular object shouldn't be there. So here you can see 2 is not there. So this is basically how you delete by using a particular ID in MongoDB with the help of Spring Boot. Again, I repeat, super important thing, make sure that you have the ID annotation. So that's the video, guys. Do check the playlist of my channel. I've done a lot of videos in programming as well as AI, many more CRUD operations by using MySQL, MongoDB, Spring Boot and Node.js, as well as AI related programming videos using OpenAI also. Check the playlist, subscribe me. Thanks for watching.